Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much, as always, for joining us here on Global Morning. We are here live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, and this is Global Television. It's midweek again, just about 72 hours ago. My colleague and I here on the program were saying, talking about the weekend, the start of the working week, but today we're right in the middle of it. So Juma is going to tell us what the business week has been like for her. It's third day and counting. Oh, I mentioned your name. Juma, good to see you.
How you doing? Like great. Lately you've been having jokes.
Maybe there's a bit of me being discovered. You know, T-Pain calls it, the real T-Pain, calls it epiphany. Right? Yeah, I think that's the moment that's catching up with me, and it feels great, trust me.
I know. I think I'm liking this I'm liking this very funny, comedic I think I'm liking it. Like the serious bookworm guy that we all know.
Gives me some idea. I should buy myself a drink at lunchtime.
Yes, you should. You should. And good morning once again.
Good morning. Great to see you.
Great to see you as always. I love doing this with you.
My pleasure.
Of course, good morning to each and every one of you out there. It's a beautiful. It's a midweek, and of course it's Wednesday, and it's a time to just take a breather, despite all the odds, despite what is going on, despite the hiking fuel. Always talk about Chip Daddy. And despite it all, let's stay grateful, let's stay happy. You know, it's better we're alive. So there is hope, right? And I know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. So let's just take it easy. Don't panic. But a lot of individuals now, parents are panicking. They're scared. They don't know what tomorrow will bring. But I always tell people, don't think about tomorrow. Let's finish up with today.
Right.
Today has its own blessings. It has its own grace. It has its own joy. It has its own laughter. It has everything. There's a way that you can handle it. There's always a way. There's always a solution to that problem. There's always someone there. So even if it's not 100% done, talking about it alone goes a long way. So I know the economy is taking a toll on everyone when it comes to the high cost of transportation. That is why in my own path, like, you know, when we say don't leave everything to government, I try, even when I am on my way home. And yesterday I did something very fulfilling, and I always do that, but yesterday I was very happy when I did that. So I saw some people on the roadside. I said, okay, I'm going towards this direction. Are you going? And she was like, is it free? I was like, of course it's free. I just want to help you. So got some people. So people should actually do that. It will help. You might not be in government. You might not be able to call the shots. But in your own little bit, it gives fulfillment. And I just know that I have always known right from, although my dad, Alhaji GM Ibrahim, amazing individual, by the way. Hi, Daddy. So the thing is, he'll always say, always know that, Jumai, that God is the rewarder of man. When you do things, don't do it because you want it back. But just always know that God sees it. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is. God sees it, and it will always come back as a reward. So I've always known that. So let's just try and do the needful, and it's okay. We'll get by, right? We're Nigerians and we'll get by. It's just unfortunate that people are really going through a lot.
Quite frankly, I didn't see this coming. But again, I'd like to jump on it, right? The good thing about this conversation that you just got started, is the fact that we have a society in Africa and indeed Nigeria where we are very communal in terms of how we live, how we interact, how we engage. People have these innate sort of instincts that I owe my brother or my neighbor care. Things may not be the same today as they had been some decades ago, but we still have some, if you like, some sort of sentiment, as I say, of that. We still have those traits of knowing that in our little ways we can help the next guy.
Yes, you can.
You may not be able to give people free rides every other day. You may not even be out there on the street every other day. But that one opportunity you have in a week and a month, give one or two persons a ride. I mean, we're going to need that this period, really, because they say each one teach one, and there's no better time for us to take each other by the hand. We can blame government all day. We can blame the war in Iraq all we want to.
Exactly.
But the question is, when we're done doing all the blame game, will it solve the problem? The answer is obvious. So we must now understand that it has to be us pulling ourselves All right, exactly on as we make progress and look forward to a brighter future and things opening up. And in the case of Nigeria in particular, we must also know that things will get a little more interesting for us, given that elections are just not too far ahead from here. We see politicians already doing their thing. And we're going to see how all of this will affect markets. I mean, market will respond to things like this. And then policies will also play out. We see all the reforms that the Tinubu administration is driving and things like that. So people need to be upbeat. They need to be optimistic. And there's no better time to share than now. And again, like I mentioned, here in Nigeria, we have that culture of being our brother's keeper.
Yes, we do.
And there is no better time to raise the game in that regard than now. But let's also just let you know quickly that we will be looking at quite a number of issues today, including the war in Iran. What's happened? The president of the United States, Donald Trump, has said that, well, first of all, there's a 5-day ceasefire in place. Second, that there are talks going on now to ensure that this war is finally and definitively brought to an end. Yet Iran says that's fake news. There's no such thing as any sort of talk going on between them. What exactly does this mean? Why is Israel still, if you like, on the loose, still shooting right into Lebanon, where it says Hezbollah leaders and other elements are taking refuge? We'll find out for you, plus more after this break. Please stay with us. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
All right, so let's talk a little about our politics this morning. We realize that the political parties themselves now are ramping up efforts to ensure that they are not left behind going into 2027. If you watched our news yesterday, especially the twilight of the day, you realize that the APC has set up its own committees now. A convention has started for the party. And then, of course, the Labour Party is doing its own thing. Well, in this case, we're talking about the Nenadi Usman-led faction of the party. The PDP is also not leaving things to chance to see what the Wike faction in particular is doing. But then the PDP seems to have a peculiar situation. Peculiar in the sense that, first of all, as it stands today, Juma, you and I cannot, with our conscience and being professionals, sit here and say the PDP is the leading opposition party in this country, given where the party is today.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, one of the things complicating the woes, if you like, of the PDP is nobody, as far as we know, is taking responsibility for what has happened, or if you like, befallen the party as it stands today. You have the Wike party doing its thing in one direction. You have the, of course, the Turaki-led faction doing its own thing, where you have the governor of your state, Seyi Makinde. Ordinarily, and from what we have seen the last couple of months, Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, is supposed to be in the Seyi Makinde camp. But as it stands right now, we understand they don't see eye to eye regarding certain things concerning that party. Doesn't that just show that the PDP doesn't look anything close to finding a resolution?
Well, the thing is, you know how these things go, and you know when we had someone from the PDP that came and we asked this same question, and he says the PDP, for as much as what we see, they're still number one. He says that's what he says, that they're still on top of their game. That's the thing. These things are unpredictable. We might just by what we see, but we do not know what happens behind closed doors. I always tell people, don't ever judge a book by its cover. But for what we see, we know that the PDP at this point, truly professionally speaking, is nothing to write home about compared to other political parties or political opponents at this point as we speak. But you do not know that there's something called spring up surprises. So We do not know what will happen at the same time. We do not know what is happening behind closed doors. We just see the glaring parts of the fractions between these two individuals. We hear that they have internal woes and crises, but at the same time, let's just sit back and see what this brings. Like politicians, you cannot, they are unpredictable. You do not know. Maybe they have something up their sleeves. Who knows? 2027, well, it's still a bit, it's at the corner. But let's just see what this brings. But at the same time, they need to get it together, because we, as Nigerians, what we see, we're seeing it. We don't have faith. I don't know about others, but some individuals will tell you, Juma, I don't have faith in any political party. I'm just looking out to see what plays out. And if my conscience pricks me enough, I will go out and vote. If not, I do not know. I sense a little bit of apathy at this point because of what we've seen. But it's just me saying we do not know what 2027 will bring. But hopefully they have some sort of strategy that we do not know, or we are not seeing coming. But at the same time, let's just fold our arms and see what it brings.
Speaking of apathy, it appears for the first time, and finally, you have something in common with the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor George Amupitan. He says that voter apathy is going to be one of the challenges, if you like, obstacles.
I agree.
Right, in the way of 2027 general election. And that's a no-brainer, given what we had seen with these cancelled elections. All right, you see how people respond to issues about voting, issues about the polls and things like that. And you're wondering what exactly is going on, because going out to vote isn't about whether you like the president or not, whether you like your governor or not, whether you like the ruling party or not. It's about being patriotic, and on top of all that, realizing that your vote is your part to determining who stays in power, who goes, who comes in, and things like this. The bad news is when people now say, look, I'm disconnected from this process, in fact, I'm not interested, then we should be bothered. We should be concerned. Therefore, the question is, should we keep lamenting? No, we should ask ourselves, how do we, as my friend would say, wriggle ourselves out of this situation? Because we are stuck, politically speaking, unless, of course, we want to keep living in denial. How do you ensure that you incentivize voting? How do you ensure that we and Juma, who have told themselves, as far as I live in this country, I'll never vote again, how do you make them change their mind, all right, and vote? Not because you induce them with half bag of rice, all right, not because you give them some balls of or because you give them 5,000 naira and you wrote their name somewhere in the manifest, but because they realize that we do not have another country. Because they are convinced that this is the only process recognized by the laws of the land to determining who leads us at any level.
For me, political parties have a lot to do
in this regard.
Because we have a guest here. I keep reverting to our guests because they always bring out real life instances. Like a guest that was here and says it's going to take a lot of convincing to convince his father, who is 75, to see why he should even come up.
And that's a very young man talking.
And that's a very young man talking, because he says this is someone that has seen decades of electoral processes. He has seen, reforms. He has seen, and then he says to himself, these individuals, I don't think they know what they are doing in his own mind. I'm talking about that age criteria when you talk about individuals who are in their 60s, 65, 70s, and all of that, and they tell you the same thing, that these people, they're just there for their own selfish interest. It's going to take a lot of convincing, a lot of strategy that needs to come up. Now, that age bracket alone is a no-brainer. They've already made up their minds that this is it. Then let's move up a bit to those that are in their youthful age. Let's talk about individuals who are now 40, now 30, now in their 20s. Then don't even go near the Gen Zs or, that age bracket of, how it is. So it's going to take a lot, Uyi. You and I, you know how it is when political parties come out and we say, he hit home, he has said something that, he's going to make a difference. We're all pumped up. But on that day of election, something just happens. There's just this dwindling of our emotions just coming to me. Someone that was already pumped up 2 days ago might just say, I'll just stay home and watch movies and see where this takes us. So it has to take a lot of re-strategizing. Really, it's going to take a lot of convincing, because as I speak to you right now, a lot of Nigerians are absolutely tired. Someone has already predicted what's going to happen in 2002. They've already known that this is what is going to play out, whether we like it or not. We already know the party that is going to rule Nigeria come 2027. Anyways, already know. And I don't think it's far-fetched. That's the truth. So it's going to take a lot of, strategy. It's going to take a lot of reopening. You have to bring something that we've not seen before, something that can just turn this whole issues that we're facing around. 360 degree has to be drastic.
Right.
Because if it's not, I do not know. I think I agree. This is Jumai Rekia saying now that I completely agree with what Josh Amukuto is saying, because I think we should be prepared, because with the way things are going, I think that's where we're heading.
Talking about efforts that can be made to ensure that we get people to be again interested in voting, we must start with INEC. When Professor Amukuto said that, I think he called the commission out, which is a good thing, right?
Yes.
Because the change begins with you.
Yes,
so it's got to start with INEC. INEC is the umpire for a reason, right?
Yes.
We must have a situation. In fact, it must become the reality that people can trust INEC without having to scratch their heads.
True.
People must now see that if we and Jumai stand for election, and INEC says Jumai won, we supporters, even though not comfortable with that outcome, must go home knowing that what INEC has said is what it is.
Valid, yes.
We must come to, until we come to that point, we're just going to be having talking points. I don't know, maybe I play with words, but that's what it is. That's number one with INEC. The second is, we must ask ourselves, what was it about Peter Obi in 2023 that brought about this sort of, if you like,
radical
renaissance?
Yes.
All right. I'll give you an example. I mean, this is a lived experience, as Ima Ozoimana would say. I get to my local government where I was going to pick up my PVC. This was sometime in 2022. It was 6:20 on the dot when I got there. People were writing their names. I think I was going to be somewhere in the 30s because we'd already had some 30 plus people who had registered. So I met a guy and said, how has it been? I mean, what's going on? He said, look, this place is filled up every day. I've been here a few times, but I didn't stand a chance to pick up my PVC, so I had to come a little earlier. I got here at about 4:30. I was number 14. Now, what we later came to find was people were coming out to pick their PVCs to vote, not just to go to a bank and do transactions, because of the OB element. So we must find the humility. We must find the wisdom to ask ourselves, what was it about OB that pumped this, if you like, for want of better words, adrenaline into young people to say, look, I've got to vote for the first time. I've never voted in this country. In fact, I just turned 19. I want to vote. And people were doing this because of Peter Obi, whether you like it or not. We must admit that. I know the APC, the PDP, the ABGA guys are not comfortable. There's the fact. What did he bring differently? What did he do that motivated the young people? We must ask. And the young people, I mean the youth as we call them, they're about 60-65% of the population.
Yes, they are.
They have the energy, they are risk friendly, they are innovative, they are creative, they disrupt for the right reasons. What are you doing with that demographic? You must ask yourself. But it takes leadership at all levels to do that. So INEC cannot just sit in its Abuja office and say, we are afraid but voter apathy is going to be a very big problem for us in 2027. Now that you realize that, we give you a round of applause. But we are going to clap louder if you're able to convince us you have the solution to that problem. Yes, beyond press conferences and interacting with political party leaders and giving us guidelines and timelines for the election. We're saying that to say that we can't continue to do the same thing the same way and expect a different outcome. It never works anywhere in the world, and it will never work.
I completely agree with you.
All right, I think this is the point where I will stop making Jumai feel depressed.
No, far from it.
I know you don't like the analysis of all of these issues around why is our electoral process so questionable, why we're not. We all share that sentiment, really. We want to see an electoral process we can trust.
That's so that transparent.
That's the point. Fair, credible, all right?
The accountability is on check. We want to really see that.
And it's possible.
It's really, really possible.
Just have to
remember the individual we interviewed that spoke about e-transmission, how this and that. I think INEC should partner with these individuals. They should have a round table. Okay, how can, for the first time, let's do something different. Partner with these private organizations that have something to bring to the table when it comes to bringing our electoral reforms or process forward. We should come together. Let's have let's come together and brainstorm and see how we can do things differently. I think it will go a long way in the electoral process, and people will begin to have that confidence when it comes to electoral process in Nigeria. I think we have a long way to go, and it's all about brainstorming. It's just for the betterment of Nigeria and Nigerians. I keep saying it all the time, because once we have that rest, that I can actually trust INEC, because they are accountable, they are transparent, it's there, it's the numbers are glaring, we can see who the winners are. I don't think anyone will tussle when it comes to who won and who did not and all of that. I think a lot needs to be done differently now, and since we sense the apathy, I think we have to work towards that. We have a lot to do when it comes, I think all sides have a lot to do.
Well, let's put it there for now, as we now turn to Ramsey Enoch Agbo, who usually just brings us heart-to-heart motivational, if you like, inspirational here on the program.
Well, this is heart-to-heart inspirational, and of course, we need to let ourselves know that, all right, if life were easy, strength would be unnecessary. Do you get that? If life was an easy thing, we don't need strength now. We don't even need mental calculation. We don't even need to do anything, because life is easy. Everything is just going smooth. You just sit down, relax, whatever you want to do, you do. My mother would say, if money were leaves on the tree that you can plug anytime. But it's not like that. Life is not easy, and that is why strength is required. Anyone that tells you life is easy, then that person is not doing you well. No matter how rich your parents are, ask them, is life easy? They will let you know the truth. And the earlier you realize this, the better, so that you don't lag behind, so that you don't just live a careless life, so that you don't live your life like there is no tomorrow, so that tomorrow don't take you unaware, like some civil servants who will never think about retirement until retirement meets them face to face. This is something of 35 years. What preparation have you done? Depending on pension, waiting for pension? All right. Well, with what's happening right now in our own country, I think a lot of people are becoming wiser, because pension itself, well, I don't know who is doing who strong thing, but then I just want us to know that life is not as easy as we think. Whoever that is putting it forward to you that life is easy, I don't think that person is doing you any good. Life is easy. With faith, life is easy. I'm not displacing the place of ease. Life is easy if you know what to do. Yeah, life is easy if you know what to do. Then strength is also required. But if pressure didn't exist, a power wouldn't develop. Because what you're facing right now is not evidence of weakness. It's not because you're weak. Yes, it's not because you're weak. Sometimes these things happen. It's happening to other people, just that they are not voicing out the way you are voicing it out. They are not complaining the way you are complaining. Sometimes complaint don't even solve the problem. Because what you're facing right now is not an evidence of weakness. It is a proof of capacity. Your ability to subdue whatever the situation is what matters. All right? Some people, I don't want to say, but then I know of business owners, especially people who take risk in business. Sometimes if you know the kind of money they lose, you will be shocked. Sometimes we even insult them. But the day they hit it with that risk, oh my God, they can make double of what they've lost. All right? So it takes a man with a large heart, a heart of capacity, someone who has capacity. all right, to make such moves. So sometimes what's happening to you and what you're doing is not a sign of weakness, it's not a sign of foolishness, but it's a proof that you have capacity, and it's a proof that you are growing, and it's a proof that you're ready to change level, and it's a proof that you are tired of the status quo. You want a change of level. You want it to be better than what it is right now. Life, as a matter of fact, tests us not to break us, but to reveal us. Pressure exposes the strength you didn't know you have. I tell you the truth, pressure exposes the strength you never knew existed on your inside. So sometimes your ability to overcome pressure sometimes matters. And that's why when you're going to look for a job in some other places, you hear, all right, do you work under pressure? Sometimes it happens. You don't beg for it to happen sometimes, but it happens. Even at home, in your family, it happens. Between you and your siblings, sometimes you see some things, some kind of pressure comes. All right? Those pressures exposes your strength. Your ability to handle those pressure, those times is what matters. It makes you. The weight you are carrying build your muscle in your character. That is true. What am I saying? I'm trying to let you know that the weight you are carrying sometimes is building your muscle in your character. Storms don't last forever. That reminds me of one of Kirk Franklin's songs that we used to sing those days. Storms don't last always. All right? Storms will come, whether you like it or not. In as much as life is there, storms must come, but it doesn't last and it doesn't exist all the time. But resilient people do exist, irrespective of the kind of storm they have been faced with. You've survived things that once made you cry. Am I telling your mind? Am I saying the truth? Am I saying your mind? Yes. Those things that made you cry sometimes back, you survived it. By the time those things are happening again, you already have the muscle to withstand it. You've overcome moments you thought would end your life. Some things happen and you say, whoa, some people think they are finished. Maybe a grace available for this moment. That same strength is still inside of you. There are strength on your inside that have not even manifested. All right. So when pressure comes in your business, in your family, in what you do, in your pursuit for success, don't allow yourself to be weighed down. Let me take gold, for instance. It's been refined by fire, not destroyed by fire. Any gold you see shining today, it went through a refining moment. What refines gold is fire. Fire. They put gold inside fire, heat it. It will be burning it. It's only God that knows what that gold will be saying. But after that moment, it comes out shining. And people will want to pay millions, billions to buy it. All right? That heat doesn't remove the gold. It removes the impurity, the dirt, the unpreparedness, the unreadiness. All right? The procrastinations. All right, the indiscipline, the misbehavior, the unreadiness is being removed by that fire, and you come out pure, you come out refined. Stop asking, why me? Sometimes, a lot of people like asking that question. Oh God, why me? Allah, why me? Oh, why me? Stop asking that question. Start asking, what is this building in me? What is this situation trying to bring out in me? Why did this thing happen to me? God, what are you saying? What is it for? What is it for? Sit down and think. Some people don't even have thinking moments. There are times that you need to shut the door. You need to off your phone. Sit down and think. Strategize. Distraction. Kai, I don't know, but a lot of distraction in this our generation, a lot of distraction in this our days, especially this age of internet. Yeah, a lot of people are doing well with the internet, but then there are times that you need to sit down and just you and you alone, you and your heart, and what you have conceived in your heart, that is in your head, boiling, how it's going to get into your hand. Sometimes you sing and ponder over it. All right? Trust your resilience. You have survived 100% of your worst days in the past. So what is left? These are the things you should be asking yourself. All right. So I want us to know that this moment will not defeat you. It will develop you. And it's all a matter of choice. You need to decide it. You need to want it. You need to live it. You need to behave it. It needs to be in your head after conceiving it in your heart so that it can enter your hands. Thank you very much. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Recondition your heart, and your thinking cap should be on all the time. I'm Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. And that was Heart to Heart inspirational segment with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Hope you were well inspired. Now, at about this point is the newspaper review segment. And we're going to start with the first paper of the day. It's the Guardian newspaper. And of course, below the nameplate, it says IPAC rejects Electoral Act 2026 as INEC unveils new party guidelines. And that's on page 3. And next it says Adelabu apologizes over power outrage, pledges recovery in 14 days. Okay, fingers crossed. And that's on page 2. And it says ADC Accord fault ex-lawmakers seeking to deregister opposition parties. And that's, like I mentioned, on page 2. And then the Star story read, ministers gauge support popularity ahead of resignation deadline. And that's on page 6. And below on page 4, it says FG pushes skills to jobs agenda, targets millions for employment. And then on page 7, it says LP postpones Congress's Zone 2027 presidential ticket to South. On page 5, it says UNODC links illicit proceeds of crime to violent extremism in Nigeria. And on page 15, it says consultants to Nigeria's National Fiber Project to earn $6.1 million. Of course, that's the business segment. And it says here, federal government anticipates improved trade as phase implementation of NSW takes off. And that reads on page 6. And on page 3, it says PDP will field candidates in 2027 adopt consensus policies, says Makinde. And basically, those are all the major headlines on the Guardian newspaper. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with major issues making rounds. And next, we have The Punch with some very punchy headlines. Over to you, E.
All right, top left corner of the paper first with a picture of Aliko Dangote. Dangote NNPC deal, his turbulence over crude shortfall. Parties warn INEC rules could skew 2027 polls. What part of the rules? Well, find out on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. Nigeria's out-of-school crisis demands $345 million yearly. That's coming from no less a person than Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Lausa, right? What's more, the big one with a kicker, 2027 polls, PDP governors reject Wike bloc's consensus cheer. The writer tells us factional rifts continues amid the reconciliation talks, while bloc allocates NWC positions by consensus. Looks like it's just getting started. ICPC alleges El-Rufai pocketed 289 million naira, $797,000 illegally. A lot of money, allegations hefty. All of that went down in the High Court in Kaduna yesterday. Page 20 is where you would find details. UK returnee, 4 others die in Ogun highway tragedy. What a very, very pathetic way to return home.
Very
right?
pathetic.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So sad. The same Ogun where, by the way, Anthony Joshua and his
Yes,
friends
of
were
course.
involved in
An
a very,
accident. Losing two of his
fatal
best
accidents.
friends.
All right. Lastly, here says Iwadza Basiru cleared as APC maps out 2027 convention. It was a big day for the party yesterday. It's going to even get bigger this weekend, climaxing on Sunday for the ruling APC. Those are your headlines from the Punch newspaper. You know where to turn to find details for those headlines. Next is the Nation newspaper.
All right, now the Nation newspaper above the nameplate of the Nation says Nigeria to become competitive in global trade with single window, and that's on page 7. And on page 3 it says El-Rufai to explain 579 million naira severance pay, and that's here it says still okay, and that's on page 3. And on page 3 again it says LP zones presidential ticket in South shifts convention. And on page 4 it says Justice Salami faults mode of packing Supreme Court justice. And the Star story reads APC no threats to convention. And the writer says aspirant sues party Yelwada Basiru others cleared. Zonal congresses hold today. And it says here, blackout, NISCO releases 2,793 megawatts to 11 discuss. And it says, minister promises improvement, fingers crossed. And at the foot of the Nation newspaper, it says, ex-Oyo deputy governor resigns from federal job for governorship bid. And that's on page 3. So there's a lot when it happens when lurking around governorship elections and being a governor. All right, now those are the major issues on the Nation newspaper. Next we have the Nigerian Tribune.
Oh, thank you, Jumai. Obi ought not to contest in 2023 presidential election. Justice Salami, what's the import of that statement? Well, we encourage you to read up details on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. 2027 Oyo PDP candidates to emerge April 8th. That's credited to Seyi Makinde, governor of Oyo State. The riders, quite a number of them. Automatic tickets given to serving reps, first-term assembly members. Governor says, we won't leave PDP. Only 51 candidates for 2027 polls. Final decision on platform to be made April 15 at stakeholders meeting. As we take it further down here, it says police confirm 2 dead as Mark truck's brake fails in Ibadan, crushes tricycles. Again, there's a reason it's called a ghastly accident. Page 26 is where you can read of those details. The Star headline tells us parties want indirect primaries restored. Why is that? Insist on amendments to electoral acts as annex updated guidelines review party registration, merger, deregistration, campaign expenses. And then 2 more headlines on the left side of the paper this morning. Court reminds El-Rufai bail application hearing for March 31, as in less than a week's time. Some leads supporters to Kaduna courts in show of solidarity. A bit of health for you as well. Meningitis outbreak worsens in northern Nigeria. That's according to the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Please do well to read up these details. Then we turn to the next one for you now, the First Daily newspaper.
All right, now the First Daily newspaper, and beside the nameplate it says nationwide darkness. Power Minister apologizes, pleads for patience. Okay. And the Star Story reads, Borno nears terrorist takeover in Dume raises alarm. And below that it says Peter Obi condemns Sheikh Umar's arrest after Kaduna visit. Labour Party zones 2027 ticket South bars North. And below that it says Nigerian deeper trouble now under Tinubu than 2023, and that's from Hakeem Baba Ahmed. And below that it says Dixon rules out presidential bid, declares PDP dead. And Justice Salami says Peter Obi not eligible to contest 2023 election. Okay. ISWAP cleric threatens retaliation after 75 terrorists killed. Okay. And it says fuel tanker crushes 6 in Ibadan tragedy. Very sad there. And those are all the major issues on the first daily. Next we have the Daily Trust.
All right, we'll begin with the first 3 headlines just immediately beneath the name mast. Obi had no basis contesting 2023 presidential election, as according to Justice Salami. This is interesting because Justice Salami, if you look over your shoulder, is a man who had made the news for all the controversial reasons a couple of years ago. But now he's back in the news for a different reason altogether, and this has to do with Peter Obi. What federal government can do to bring down petrol costs? I'm sure Nigerians will be interested in that read, which has its details on page 19. 11 die in Ogun Oyo Bauchi road crashes. The big one says parties move against electoral acts. What's the problem with electoral acts? Well, you can find out those details from the Daily Trust today. 2027, Labour Party zones presidential tickets to South. What to know about the new HIV prevention injection? Start your knowing on page 8 of the Daily Trust newspaper. US to send thousands of soldiers to Middle East. Now we're talking infantry, foot soldiers. A court remands El Rufai in ICPC custody, fixes March 31. For bail hearing, apparently that will be sometime next week. All right. Well, not so much for headlines here on the Daily Trust. So read out those details, please, as we turn to the New Telegraph.
All right, now the New Telegraph newspaper, above the nameplate, it says Nigeria's Jet A1 export doubles as 3-week earning hits 343 billion naira. And below the nameplate, it says here, Cardoso seeks regulations, collaboration to tackle cross-border risk. And that's on page 8. Now, below all of that, it says here, new electoral guidelines will end imposition of unpopular candidates. And that's INEC, and that's from Josh Amupitong. And on page 7, we have the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Wahid Shaibu. And he says, Army strength lies not only in operational capabilities, but also in moral well-being. And I totally agree. And of course, next is the picture of Olatunji Disu, that's the Inspector General of Police. And he says, major shakeup, IGP appoints new CPs for Lagos, Ogun, other states. And then, of course, we have a picture here of Nadi, and she says, and that's on page 4, 2027, says LP plans Southern candidates to challenge Tinubu, shifts Congresses to new date to avoid disfranchisement. Okay, all right now, and the Star Story reads on page 3, 6, and 7, it says APC's National Convention threatened as aspirant heads to court over alleged exclusion. And the writer says defendant served at party secretariat given 30 days to enter appearance. And one of the writers says party targets 10,000 attendees, 740 delegates to vote. And the next says Masari leads venue inspection. The next writer says Shatima receives Zamfara governor, Lawal supporters into APC. And besides all of that, it says alleged corruption, court adjourns El-Rufai's bill hearing to March 31st. And that's on page 4. And it says journalists barred from trial. Okay.
That's the case of El-Rufai.
Yes,
right?
yes, of course. And the next says EFCC takes over Malamese Maitama House. And it says Switzerland to return Benin bronze artifacts to Nigeria, pledges support to combat insecurity in Northeast. And that's on page 27. Now, below all of that, it says Middle East crisis. Nigeria will continue to pay more for fuel as oil jumps above $100. And we have two riders. It says Israel-Iran continues attack, Trump's approval rating plummets. And it says here Pakistan offers to mediate end to hostilities. And that's on page 2. And on page 5 and 8, it says power outrage linked to nationwide generation drop, IE. And it says Nigerians hydro plant not generating enough power. And it says Adulab apologizes to Nigerians, promises improvement. Okay. And here it says Nigeria hits 6.5 million pregnant women on the triple elimination program. And that's on page 6. And basically those are all the major headlines on the New Telegraph. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with these major issues making rounds to avoid fake news. Next we have the blueprint. Over to you.
All right, great. Let's move on. The front page says Obi shootings have been allowed to contest in 2023 polls. Justice Salami. To think this is coming 3 years after is what makes it interesting. All right, so media powerful force in shaping perception accountability. That's credited to Minister of Information and Orientation, Mohammed Idris. All right, sports here for you. Friendly Super Eagles begin training for Iran, Jordan. 2027, INEC unveils revised guidelines for political parties. Two writers here tell us APC panel clears Ugwatda Basiru, 28 others for national convention. ADC slashes states LG word nomination fees for aspirants. And then you have a picture story there. Nasir El-Rufai, former governor of Kaduna State, arriving court yesterday. ICPC arraigns El-Rufai, court fixes March 31 for bail hearing. That's next Monday. Ex-governor San Bello leads protests. EFCC moves to take over Malamese Abuja residence. Let's take it further down now, everyone. 6 die, others injured in Ibadan petrol tanker accident. Wike partners Japan to update Abuja master plan. 3 killed in KB community celebrating Eid festivities. So apparently that was a targeted attack. And then lastly, on the foot of the page says petrol imports dropped to $10 billion. Dangote refinery boosts local supply exports. Those details are on page 22. Please find details on the Blueprint newspaper today. Let's turn things over now to the Daily Sun.
All right, now on the Daily Sun newspaper, close to the nameplate, on page 6, it says here, 2027, LP won't field Northern presidential candidate, and that's from Ninadi. And of course, the writer says, throws door open for interesting aspirants. And here it says World Bank, why poverty reduction efforts not working in Nigeria. Am I surprised? No, I'm not. And that's on page 6. And now the Star Story reads, ABC Convention Committee clears Yelwata, Ajibola, Duru. And the writer says others also get nod to contest party positions. And the second writer says aspirants institute 100 million naira suit against party. And that's on page 6 and page 28. Now below that it says Nigeria worse off than in 2023. That's from Baba Ahmed tells Tinubu. And that you have to flip to page 6. Insecurity, Southwest stakeholders meet in Abeokuta. And that's on page 4 and 26. It says FG plans civilian demining team to tackle IED threats. And next it says on page 4, 4 die in Ijebu-Ode Ore Expressway crash. Very sad. 1 killed, others injured as tanker crushes tricycles in Ibadan. And on page 25 it says FG targets March 31st reopening of Enugu-Onitsha Expressway. way. Okay, that's a step in the right direction, so it's aware of motorists. And then basically that's all. Next we have the Daily Monitor. Over to you.
All right, let's take a look at the penultimate paper, just the one before the last. At the top of it, it says, excuse me, a federal government reaffirms education, reform drive seeks private sector backing. Meningitis outbreak worsens in northern Nigeria, NCDC. Hopefully, Jumai will bring us those details in the course of one of these episodes of Health Guide, right? Yeah, when she does what she knows how to do best. Contractors plan protest at APC convention over delayed payments. ICPC arraigns El-Rufai on multiple count charges over alleged corruption. Malami condemns EFCC invasion of his premises, says action of anti-graft agency are disregard to the rule of law. A decision followed valid interim forfeiture order issued by courts, that's according to the EFCC. Power outages, that's Akika. Adelabu apologizes, promises improvements in 2 weeks. Your countdown has begun, Mr. Honorable Minister. To this challenge to shortage of gas supply to power plants, Ikeja Electric blames Lagos power outages on drop in generation. NSE president seeks holistic approach to challenges in power sector. 2027, INEC unveils draft guidelines for political parties, says Nigeria cannot navigate the 2027 horizon using a 2022 map. Of course, that's commonsensical. Those are your headlines from the Daily Monitor today. We hope you will take out time to go read of details for yourself. Last paper is the Daily Independent.
And of course, the last, yes, of course, the Daily Independent, and it says above the nameplate, majority of Nigerian jobs are informal, unproductive, and that's from the Vice President Shatima. And it says here, FG unveils national single window to tackle port delays, boost efficiency. And below the nameplate, it says capital goes where there is value. Nigeria has value, and that's from Ujulari. And below that on page 29, it says 150 billion naira debt. Contractors threaten to disrupt APC convention. And on page 29 again, it says Zenith Bank names Kennedy Owodili as executive director. And it says on page 29, 2027, INEC, excuse me, INEC unveils draft regulations and guidelines for political parties. And on page 7, we're banking on youth base to secure future APC chairman. On page 7 again, it says Nigeria may lose Borno Northeast to terrorists in Dume warns. And at the foot of the Daily Independent says NCDC raises the alarm over worsening meningitis cases in the north. And that's on page 6. And still on the paper, it says Minister apologizes to Nigerians over persistent power outrage and outages. And it says here, sees improvement in supply in 2 weeks. It says FG ramping UP generation to 6,000 megawatts before year end. Fingers crossed, I would say. And basically, those are all the major headlines on the Daily Independent. And also to note that Global Television, Global Morning Crew, we have no input whatsoever on these newspaper headlines. We bring them to you just how they have been printed. No editorial judgment, or we did not add or subtract on these papers. So please go out and get yourself a copy of these newspapers to avoid fake news and be well abreast with major issues making rounds. Up next on Global Morning is the Social Buzz segment with Ogochukwu Mobono. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned.
an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on the issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues on social media. Concerns are rising over what some parents describe as increasing pressure and unhealthy competition in private schools, this time sparked by extravagant birthday celebration among pupils. The concerned mother has sparked conversations online after reacting to what she calls a growing culture of competition in private schools. In a post shared on social media, the mother expressed shock over a situation where children returned home from school with expensive birthday gifts, including bicycles and school bags, reportedly given out by fellow pupils celebrating their birthday. Reacting to this development, she questioned the appropriateness of such gestures within a school setting. According to her, schools are meant to be centers of learning and character development, not platforms for showcasing wealth or creating social pressure among parents and students. She further warned that such acts should set unrealistic expectations, indirectly compelling other parents to match or exceed similar gestures during their children's celebration. In her words, imagine your children come back from school with a bicycle and school bag and say it's from a classmate's birthday. If you think because you shared a bicycle to my children, I'll do the same, you're joking. The mother emphasized the need for moderation, urging schools and parents to maintain a balance that prioritizes education over material display. Well, let's take a look at that video.
Imagine your children came back from school with a lot of goodies, a lot of packages like a bicycle, Ecolab bag with a lot of things inside it. And you asked where they got it from. They said their classmate is celebrating his or her birthday. Their parents and private school. We should do better. It is a school and not a competition ground. So if you think because you shared bicycle to my children on your kid's birthday and you expect me to buy the same thing, Abikin rag with moto, Abikin rag keke, okay, whatever, Abikin ko Ecolab bag, they don't want your birthday one. My darling, you are joking. The fact that they are in the same school doesn't mean that we earn the same money. You see so many children that are in the same school, in the same class with your children. Scholarship, we're going to feel opportunity. And even if I have the money, in competition, what in there, crèche, primary school, nursery school, especially private schools. And we'll give them a tell money lost school on your birthday. Don't pay for my mates. Take me lollipop more. Bag in land and call rich goodies, long pay for my mates. Not your birthday. My own is, I hope you will not be expecting the same thing in return on my children's birthday, because you know when you want me, when you have birthday, because of my gift, and because of my gift to Ali. So to buy for any gift willingly, Tom ever go give to assist school, come be back. You need to read my science get to remove pay back. Nítorí tá bá sọ pé kíní kan ò dá àti kékeré náà ni. Ọmọ tó kọ́ kẹ̀kẹ́ tó rí pé parents ń kọ́ kẹ̀kẹ́ tẹ̀lé wọn kó travelling bag tẹ̀lé wọn kó oríṣiríṣi nǹkan tẹ̀lé wọn lọ́jọ́ birthday wọn lọ pé fáwọn mate. Ṣé mo kó máa expect same thing in return. Kílẹ̀ ń gbé sí wọn lọ́pọlọ, kílẹ̀ ń kó wọn yẹn. In tó bá wẹ̀ kó pé fáwọn ọmọ mi o. Bí ìbá lówó ju pọ́n gíla lọ́jọ́ birthday wọn tí wọ́n kó wálé wé nù. Because school ni, and I don't even think it is necessary for children to celebrate their birthday in their schools. What sense does it make? Make it make sense. Celebrate your children's birthday with your family. You don't have to go and buy the whole trailer of this thing to their school all in the name of sharing gifts to their mates. My parents are on to and it's so please, their parents and private school authorities, please kindly listen to this. This is becoming so annoying.
All right, so that's the video clip. Well, before we go right into the discussion for today, let's take a look at some comments from social media. And the first comment is coming from Ugebe Oyibo. And Ugebe says, did anybody ask you to compete? If it gets your turn, do what you can afford and enter house. Thank you so much, Ugebe, for your contribution. And the second comment is coming from the Posh Lady. And Posh Lady says, her concerns are valid. The school needs to have a minimum standard threshold for gifts so parents are not put under undue pressure. Thank you, Posh Lady, for your contribution. Last but not least for today is coming from Olaoluwa Williams. And Olaolu says, kudos to those schools that don't allow party packs and unnecessary birthday gifting in schools. Thank you, everyone who dropped their contribution to today's topic. And yes, like I said, we're going to talk about this here in the studio, and of course I have with me Jumai Mansi. Good morning, Jumai.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. Really,
why are we laughing together?
I'm shocked because I do not understand parents. No one is putting you under the edge. For goodness sake, be happy you got gifts, and this is a way for you to teach your children about contentment. This individual has. It's okay. You might not have. It's fine. So I don't understand why you're taking pain reliever on someone else's headache. What's your problem? I don't understand. I don't want to say it in the pidgin way. I just want to maintain that flow. But really, this is not even an issue. For goodness sake, there are parents that go all out to celebrate their children because their children have done so well in their academics, and they want to. This is a time of celebration, and I can celebrate anywhere I choose to. It's not your money. Hello. So I don't know what's the problem. Just know that no one is putting you under the edge. You're just giving yourself unnecessary hypertension. Really. Very
What
true. Is this?
Very true.
I don't understand.
I was just saying just before we started the show, I was saying that most parents these days, like, you can actually have your birthday party in school.
Yes.
Also have it outside. But I think when you even have it outside, like, you spend more.
True.
Because you have to get bouncy castle, you have to get different
popcorn,
all of that, food,
sugar rush, all of these things.
All of these things, and it's too much. So most times it's even better you use those money, get good gifts that it can benefit other students or other children in the school and share it to them. And most times we get to see that most of these parties for children are even dominated by adults. Adults take over the party and they do their thing. You hear music that is not even favorable to children that age, and which is not cool. But then in school, you have to sing your school rhyme with your mates. Like they're all same age grade. And I think children even enjoy that a lot. I've heard so many children say, "Mom, you know what? I want to do my birthday in school," because they are seeing their age mate, their age grade, and all of that. So it's fun to do birthday in school. Nobody's compelling anyone. I think it's even the child who is supposed to be saying, "You know what, mommy? Because so and so did their birthday and brought cake. I want to also bring cake." Like, it encourages sharing. children learn sharing from that.
Exactly.
Point. So nobody's competing. I don't think anyone should be seeing it as competition.
No.
If you want to even look at it as competition, it should be healthy competition because you are learning from it.
And you as a parent, it's a child for you. It's a chance for you to teach your children and tell them that, okay, no, because he brought this particular cake, you will have this particular cake, and yours might not be up to that or could be more than that. It doesn't matter. You just have to. Contentment is very important when it comes to that particular issue. I think the woman needs to take a breather. I think she needs to put her energy somewhere else, and please stop discouraging other parents that want to go all out. And it's all about giving. It's all about joy. It's all about celebration. So if a parent wants to go all out, hey,
please encourage them.
Please encourage them.
The only thing I do not encourage is like something to eat. Please don't give my child or anybody something they can eat, maybe cake. Even if you give them cake, encourage them to wrap it, keep it in their bag, show their parents.
Exactly.
If anything happens, they are coming to hold you responsible. You will do that. So don't give them food. Don't give them anything. But gifts like books, storybooks. They have storybooks.
Yes.
School bags. They might school the other parents.
Yeah.
Fantastic. You encourage the child to learn more. Of course, they want to come to school because they don't know whose birthday is next.
Exactly. And that woman needs to go and see some
Anyway, thank you so much, Jumai, for your contribution. While birthday celebration remains a joyful part of childhood, the conversation now turns to where to draw the line between celebration and competition. Should school regulate such activities, or is it solely the responsibilities of parents? That's the side of our conversation today on the Social Buzz on Global Morning. All right, I'll be leaving the hands of Jumai and Uyi as they take us further into the discussion section of Global Morning. I'll see you on my show later. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. All right, so let's begin to just to walk you through our first conversation this morning, for which our guest will join us shortly, which again takes us back to the incident in Delta State last week in Ozoro, somewhere in Isoko. Of course, that has generated several talking points, became controversial at some point. But of course, you know that here on Global Television, we do not rely on social media based or social media driven sources. We want to get right to the authorities and speak to them about this issue. Juma and I have talked about how that it's a traditional, a cultural practice that has been in place for a long time. And to that extent, we had a lady, a girls' education advocate who joined us yesterday to also talk about it from a human angle, cultural, traditional, and what have you. But today we'll be joined by the Police Public Relations Officer, Delta State Command, to help us understand exactly what has happened so far, especially as it has to do with prosecuting those who are said to have been arrested. Because, Juma, you know that most times when things like this happen, one, not only do they become a public interest issue, we now begin to have concerns around how the prosecution is going, who has been arrested, on what basis were they arrested, are they being prosecuted, is due process being followed, rule of law, and what have you. And one of the things we've seen with the police in recent years in particular is that they always come out to talk about progress, what's happening, number of people arrested, and all of that. But in all, the concern is always that members of the public, citizens, want to see that those who have been found guilty are brought to book, that justice is served for all the parties involved. And that is also the hope of Nigerians, and indeed those who have been affected directly regarding this matter.
Very importantly, you know, of course, the law must definitely take its course. It's very important. That's the hope of the common Nigeria. When you look at these sort of issues, but you know, the needful needs to be done. Investigations need to be done. It shouldn't be based on allegations and all of that. We should look at it very critically, because this Ozoro issue is something that is very critical. You know, there are a lot lots of circumstances surrounding it. Some tell you it's a fertility tradition, which is a beautiful one, by the way. When you sit down, you listen to it, and some miscreants have decided to turn it into something that is appalling and disgusting in our society. So for as much as arrests have been made, which is good, those who have gone out of what the tradition stands for should be brought to book, should face the wrath of the law. Right. And at the same time, the needful should be done. And the victims need to come up as well. Because even when these individuals are arrested and the victims do not come out to say, he did this and this and this, there's no weight there. So it's very important that we understand this balance when it comes to issues like this, and know that there's some criminalities in our society that we cannot just throw a blind eye or a tap on the wrist and say this and that. It must face due process, like you've mentioned, and and these individuals must face the wrath of the law.
Right, of course. Well, let's take a break now. When we return, we'll be joined by our guest this morning to help us look at this conversation and all the developments around it from a law enforcement standpoint. Do stay with us.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build a nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all. From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m., Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Let's talk quickly, just before we get right into our first conversation this morning, about the challenges associated with access to education in Nigeria. We're hearing now that not only is the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria swelling, as we've seen the last 10-15 years, but now the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Rauf-Alausa, is now saying that $345 million will be required to address that issue on a yearly basis. So the question is, for how many more years are we going to spend that to ensure that these children have access to school or return to school? Because, Juma, when you talk about out-of-school children, you're looking at what some persons have come to call, those who are experts in the field of education, whether policy and what have you, a ticking time bomb, all right? Because let's say if you have millions of children who are out of school in a country like Nigeria, it means you don't know who you're playing with. Because in the end, you are going to see crime rates. Yes, you're going to see so much of economic burden, if you like, because this will be people with next to no capacity to add economic value. And when you have that, apparently you will be dealing with much bigger problem than you realize.
Very true. And of course, it takes a toll on the country when you have out-of-school children. Of course, that means a lot of idle minds wandering about, and of course the next rate is criminality, which is a menace in our society. So that is a very big problem. It's a challenge, by the way. So as a nation, we have to try as much as possible to understand that education is key. It's a very key sector in order to keep our children, youth busy in that forte. It's very, very important we understand that. And at the same time, when we have lots of out-of-school children, you know what that means. Like you said, the crime rate is going to be on a high rise.
Right.
And people will tell you they're not in school, and at the same time, all of that encompassed. But I think the needful needs to be done in that forte.
Of course, by all means, the needful should be done. Well, we understand our first guest is joining us this morning. DSP Bright Edefe is the Public Relations Officer, Delta State Command of the Nigeria Police Force. He joins us virtually from Asaba, Delta State capital, this morning. DSP Edefe, would like to say a big thank you to you for cutting out time for us in spite of your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me this morning. Good morning.
All right, so let's get started. So much of, my colleague Juma and I will be engaging you on these Ozoro incidents this morning, particularly from the standpoint of law enforcement, which of course is the police. Let's talk about misconceptions out there, and then a lot of fake news as well. Help us understand what exactly has happened and how the police has reacted, and of course is handling this matter going forward.
All right, I'm glad that on your bar line I'm seeing Rape Festival. Yes, and that is where we got it wrong from the beginning, because first there was no such thing as Rape Festival. Not in Delta State, not in Nigeria, not in Africa, and I don't think in any part of the world somebody will just wake up and say, want to carry out a rape festival. So that's not true. It's absolutely nothing to do with Rape Festival. It's a festival, according to them, to pray for the barren, to pray for women who are looking for fruit of the womb to be blessed with fruit of the womb. It's quite unfortunate that miscreants, hoodlums in the guise of youths, hijacked the whole process and start molesting young girls, whom are mostly students and non-indigenous, but it was not a rape festival.
Looking at it critically, of course, you're the PRO, and what has the police done? We hear that arrests has been made. These individuals that have been arrested, what's the next step by the police force?
Yes, at times when arrests are done like this, you require enough evidence to prosecute them. For now, we've not had sufficient evidence to show that anybody was raped. However, there are video footages to show that people were molested, and we've been able to interview 4 of the victims who confirmed to us that yes, they were molested, assaulted, but they were not raped. The organizers of the festival have been arrested basically because they refused to do proper diligence. Information was not passed out on time. They did not inform their traditional ruler. They did not inform the police. They also did not inform the school authority. And that's why they are presently in custody, including the chief priest and also the chief organizer of the festival. While 11 other suspects were also arrested them from analysis of the video footages, information that we have available to us. So we have a total of 16 suspects in our custody. And once we conclude the investigation, they will be charged to court accordingly.
What measures are being put in place for such incidents not to ever occur again? Because it's not bringing a very good name to the people of Delta State, because so many people have their own notions when it comes to this particular issue. So do you have measures put in place?
Yes, we've been able to pass message around traditional rulers in the state that for the fear of hijackers, because we cannot deny the fact that even protests could be hijacked, lawful gathering can be hijacked. We cannot deny that fact. So we've been able to pass messages across that they should inform us, not just informing us on time, so that adequate deployment will be made. But above that, outside the job of the police, we as a people, we have to do our own, because these youths that goes about molesting young girls, one would wonder the kind of family background they have. Who are their parents? Where are they from? What kind of upbringing did they have? What kind of school did they go to? So beyond what the police can do, it is about what the country can do to our people, so that we will not continue to get it wrong. Our youth will not continue to go astray. You will not be surprised that most of those youth who carry out those nefarious activities were under the influence of drugs. How do you go about stripping a girl naked, knowing that you have sisters at home, you have daughters, and you have parents, you have mothers at home? It's very sad. We are doing our part, but we are calling on parents, communities, and the society in general to do their own homework, so that proper youth will be breeded, so that we will not continue to breed people that will come back and haunt us and be a problem to us and the society.
Now, looking at the police aspects, I want to know, are there any challenges in getting to the root cause of this particular matter that happened in Ozoro?
The challenge is what I just analyzed. Our youths are getting it wrong. Even if they say, oh, women should not come out, there's nowhere it is written that, oh, a woman that comes out should be harassed. No. The highest thing that they have to do is to say, hey, go back inside, you're not supposed to come out. Even I myself, about a month ago, I was coming out from the house, walking towards my vehicle, and I saw a masquerade. Waiting concern me a masquerade. That was the notion I had. Until one of them shouted at me, say, please leave, oh, if this masquerade whip you with that thing is carrying, your life don't spoil. They're not the type of person. I had to quickly adjust and hide. But nobody came and started harassing or trying to strip me or start beating me. So the solution is not about molesting or beating them. It's about taking advice, advising these young girls, please go. And if they won't tell them, there's masquerade, they go inside, they will go inside. In one of the video, you heard what the girl was saying, I will run, I will run, I will run. So you don't have to go about molesting them. So our major challenge is, who are these youths? What kind of wickedness do they have in their hearts to do such mean thing to innocent young girls? So that's a bigger burden, that's a bigger problem. And it's not just a problem of the police, it's a problem of the country, it's a problem of the state, it's a problem of the society. And we must all come together, like I earlier stated, to address this issue.
Activists, women activists will say such traditions should be abolished completely. That one tradition will state that no woman should come out because they are trying to perform their traditional norms and values and all of that. What's your own opinion when it comes to these traditions that, violate sometimes human rights? Well, painted wrongly now that you're giving the full details of the whole story.
It's unfortunate that there are customs and there are tradition. I believe you that is seated there, I believe you also come from a community, and if you go in there, you discover that you also have your own tradition and you also have your own customs, and most time they don't like interference. So there is only a supreme body that can pass a verdict, and I think that's the National Assembly. So they should take their complaint to the National Assembly so that the activities of these people will be looked into. If they need to ban such festival, then they can ban it. It's for us to enforce it. It's for us to enforce it. Or the State Assembly too can pass an order. Like in Akwa Ibom State, the state government passed an order. And when masquerade were coming out, the CP mobilized operative and they were arrested. So there should be an order that will be passed in form of a bill for the police to enforce.
You know what, Mr. Bright Edafe, some people have come out, some major individuals didn't even know about this Orozo tradition, and then now so many ladies are coming out and saying, even in Warri, there's a particular one that happened, and these miscreants who turn these traditions upside down go about raping girls in Warri and places that the police never had a wind of such issues that was happening in Delta State in general, because it's new to some of us that such is even happening in the first place. Not this year, but it has been a norm. How true is that?
It is absolutely false. It is false. Even the Ozoro incident is false. You understand? People just like to spread misinformation because they want to trend. If you check the people talking and where it is being posted, there are content creators who are verified and who get paid from engagement and impressions. So that's the problem. It is not. If they are lying that, oh, guess there's a festival called Rape Festival in Ozoro, oh, they raped 2-3 girls and somebody even died in the process. If they are lying about this one, I've been here for the past 5 years. I've been a Deltan all my life. We've not recorded that. It's just a fat lie. But we are trying not to play down what is the fact in issue, that is the sexual assault, because it's also a very mean thing to do. But I don't want people to miss it. Sexual assault, indecent assault cannot be referred to as rape. They are two different issues. We have cases where girls are harassed because they come out, and that is why we are saying we must look in depth and wonder, why are you doing this, and what can be done to abolish such tradition that will say, oh, people should not come out. It's not even about women. There are some that they will say nobody should come out. No man, no woman should come out. So generally, it should be looked into. A bill could be passed into law by the state governor or the president, so that the police can enforce it. But saying, oh, there's a festival that people are cold, people are being raped, is a lie. So a lady even did a video and said rod was inserted into somebody's vagina. All these are just people who want to create traffic in their blog. That's all.
All right, just I'd like us to talk about where we are now, because sad as it sounds, there's nothing we can do about what has happened in Ozoro. But let's talk about what is now in front of the police. I mean, your command in Delta State. When cases like this happen, I mean, apparently this is a public interest matter, right? Everybody's interested, even Nigerians in the diaspora. They want to know how this will turn out. Eventually, talk to our viewers about what specifically the police is doing in terms of ensuring that this case becomes one more opportunity for the Nigeria Police Force to build credibility and trust with members of the public. Because when things like this happen, more often than not, nothing is heard about the matter, and Nigerians say, well, the police have swept the matter under the carpet. Talk to us about what would make this one different.
The police does not sweep any matter under the carpet. I think the challenges we have is lack of witnesses. Thankfully, these girls come out. But what happens tomorrow when they decide not to come out? For instance, maybe during the time of prosecution, there is time for witness statement, and you ask them to come to court and they refuse to come to court. The judge may have no option than to strike out the case. So it's not about sweeping it under the carpet. It's about everybody contributing their own quota in the law enforcement process. And that's just what there is to it. For every criminal cases, there are witnesses. It is a very, in fact, it's the most important ingredient when it comes to prosecuting criminals. So when witnesses back out, it becomes difficult for the police. For instance, you arrest somebody, you say, oh, we saw this person stealing. You bring the person to the police station and you disappear. From that moment, nobody sees you again. There's nothing the police can do that to release that suspect. Because you are supposed to come and substantiate what you have seen, give statements, go to court, act as witnesses. You have disappeared. So it's not just the role of the police alone. We all have our role to play. For this particular case, they are with us. They will be duly prosecuted. And don't forget, when it gets to the court, it is no longer in the hands of the police. It is now at the discretion of the judge or the magistrate to take action based on what is made available to him or her. You understand? However, witness statement is vital. And I hope whoever has one or two witness or evidence statement that will help us to prosecute successfully come out and support us. Because today, it may not be you. Tomorrow, it might be your daughter, it might be your child. So we have to take this very, very seriously.
think Juma wants to ask a question.
Let's look at the traditional rulers now. Some people will say these are laws that were made by man, and man can actually, stop these laws, or they can actually address individuals regarding these traditions, values that happen. What are the traditional rulers saying in all of this, DSP Edafe?
The traditional ruler in Ozoro was not in any way in support of this dastardly act that these people carried out. That's the truth. However, laws are made by man. We will only enforce. We don't make law, and we do not unmake law. So the people who have been charged with the responsibility of making laws do theirs. We will just ask is to enforce. However, there is no part of the tradition that says if a girl defies the order, go and harass them. Like I earlier stated, it is to tell them to go back. You can't even confine them to any space. Just advise them with love to go back, and they will go back. Nobody wants to be assaulted. If I myself, who could even mobilize policemen to a place where I was assaulted, can just align and just go somewhere for peace to reign, I did it. However, nobody will take assault. I would not be happy if I was assaulted on that day, and this one is not an exception. So it's not right for people to say, oh, because you have come out. That day we ask the traditional ruler and the president general, for those that comes out because either they did not hear the information or they are just being stubborn, what's the way forward? And he said it's just to tell them to go back. It's not about going about beating them and assaulting them.
On the final note, we understand Ozoro is also, to an extent, a student community, because at least there's a campus of State Polytechnic in that vicinity. Let's talk about how much of challenge that poses in a case like this. I mean, we live in an age where you have so many young people who may not be very familiar with or even have the slightest idea about what the traditions and the cultural practices are. All right, because there are those who say that, look, it's not just about this one-off incident in Ozoro. It's about how young people think. It's about that campus kind of environment, how that we're now told there are people who are being implicated in this matter who are not even from that place in the first instance, so they have no idea how the cultural practices work around there. How much of a challenge does this pose, and how can we also mitigate the impact that comes with it?
Prevention, they say, is better than cure. We are already here. We are trying to reduce what we have. Going forward, from the child you are giving birth to now, from the child that are 7 years down, let us start raising them rightly. I cannot imagine myself assaulting anybody on the streets, even though I were not to be a policeman. So it's about how I was brought up. You see, we have one major issue in the country today. Once you give birth to a girl child, where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Where is she? Why has she not come back? And many things like that. Where we allow the boys to go about, come back anytime they like without supervision. And that is how they fall out of line and get out of the way. So that's one issue that we must also address. As for the school community, if we have had students, because for the ones we've had in our custody, none of them are students. If they are students, their case is very, very easy to deal with, because first they will be expelled from the school. So they have their own laws that guide the activities of students in the school. It was a polytechnic. Now it's a university school that we have, a university institution that we have there now. And it's working very fine. The school management were not just happy that they were not informed, because if they were informed, they would have told their students, because all the victims we've so far interviewed, they are all students of that university. So we have a major challenge everywhere in the country regarding our youth, abusing of drug, cultism, and other vices. But we are doing our best sensitizing them. Very soon I will be going on school outreaches to talk to students on the need to stay away from drug and cultism, because these are two factors that goes side by side and gives rise to what we just recorded in Ozoro. Most of those people you see, I can tell you that they were not properly brought up from their homes, or either they were properly brought up and they just decide to go astray and do things on their own.
All right, DSP Dafe, what protection rights are in place for whistleblowers who come out to report misconduct, who come out to report crimes? Are they well protected? Because, that's the thing. A guest that we had yesterday, she says, a lot of individuals have a lot of information, but because they are not protected, and that is why there is that strain of coming out to report misconduct, criminal elements, criminal miscreants in the society.
The issue we have with whistleblowers is that they are happy being whistleblowers. How do I mean they are happy being whistleblowers? They take pride in it. So you come and you give the police information. Maybe you go to a police station, you meet a DPO, and you give the DPO an information. The DPO succeeds. You want glory. You will now go to Mr. B, your friend. That information I meet a DPO. You go to Mr. C. They don't arrest that guy. I'm the one that told the DPO. Then when the information now leaks, you forget that you have told two friends. You will now say the police have leaked your identity to the public. For instance, 2 years ago, a man told the police of a certain suspect that we've been looking for. He came on the road, he saw a checkpoint. He now said, there's this guy that did so thing. I saw him at so place. Now police went and arrested the guy. A week later, these guys started disturbing me. They are threatening me. They are sending me threat message. They even came to my house. They sent me my house address. I say, is that so? He said, I say, okay. Who did you give this information? He said, I told policemen I saw on the checkpoint. I say, all right. Did the policeman follow you to your house? He said, no. I say, okay. Did you tell the policeman your name? He said, no. This policeman, have they met you before? He said, no. So how did the policeman know your house? He could not answer me. So you know that in that case, having found out that we have succeeded, he went about blowing his own whistle because we want to naturally take glory. So if you are giving information to the police, you must leave it to the police and go to your house and sit down. It's not about taking personal glory. Oh, it is me, it was me. I'm a police informant. Let me even tell you, in Delta, there are known informants. How can you be an informant and you are known? You go to a beer parlor, you tell your fellow people that are drinking with you that you are a police informant. So that's the challenge. If you know you want to give us information, leave the information with us. Don't go about blowing your own whistle, and when it's cast, you will now come and say, police have revealed my identity.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful place to leave it this morning. We'd like to appreciate you, DSP Bright Edafe, the Public Relations Officer, Delta State Police Command, for helping us understand what exactly has happened and what the police is doing precisely to ensure that this not only repeats itself, but that the Nigerian public continues to trust the work that the police is doing. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much for being a part of Global Morning Breakfast Program.
Thank you for having me this morning. Thank you.
All right, let's take a break at this point, everyone. When we return, we'll turn attention to happenings on the international scene, precisely what's happening in the Middle East as it has to do with the Iranian war. Please do stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Osoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust a multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe. All right, so that was DSP Bright, I think, helping us understand some of these things. You know, Jumai, the fact of the matter is some things are more complex than we realize.
Yes, they are.
You know, that term, informant, whether you say it's police informant or military informant or whatever kind of informant, is something I grew up to hear of. As a young boy, thought it's just about one person hearing something and whispering to the police. But it's a bit deeper than that, right? And he made a very salient point. Most times we blame the police when some sort of intel goes south, not knowing that the person who has also shared that information is the one who has compromised it.
Yes.
Because you can't say, for example, Juma is a DPO somewhere. You're going to share, no, it's all right, that's fine. You're going to share a piece of information with her. Then you're also going to tell someone in your class or a neighbor 2 blocks away, or you're going to tell a colleague at work. And you know, people talk. Somebody said, look, it's wonderful for you to say you're confiding in someone, but that person also has a friend or someone at the workplace that they talk with.
Yes.
What's the chance that they are not going to share with that person? And for information that has to do with crime, I mean, it's as sensitive as it comes. So it's not something you want to take chances with. You don't want to have loose ends and things like that. And let's be clear, many of the arrests that we see, including high-profile arrests, they happen on account of intel.
Yes.
Somewhere, a civilian somewhere, member of the public, sometimes even off the shores of the country, would have shared information with the police, with the armed forces, and then they act on it. I think they call it actionable information. They act on it, credible intel, all right? And you realize that it leads to a very high-profile case. Somebody's arrested, drug syndicate is busted, all right? Some sort of national security threats, all right, are being tackled on account of that piece, otherwise small piece of information. So we must be careful how we do this. But I'm also happy that he said that the people who were said to have been harassed or assaulted have come forward to say, look, I was assaulted and this was exactly what I experienced. Yes, so FOA is a crowd when it comes to prosecuting a matter like this, because you need first-hand witnesses. You need people, as they say, who have, well, sadly, been there, done that. So not just a third party coming to share what they claim that they witnessed. Because like you mentioned, I've heard this time and again from security experts. There is one thing for you to say you have a case. By the time you get to a court, the court or the judge or the magistrate, as the case may be, is not going to be moved by your emotions, by your sentiments. It's going to be about facts. Therefore, the question is, how much facts are you bringing to the table? And if you don't have those facts, what exactly can you do, really? So for cases like this, you need people who can come to court and be able to give witness. I mean, to be able to give account of what they've done, whether you call it prosecution witness or defense witness, or whatever the case may be. But again, I think this is going so well. It's going well so far. And we do hope that this will be the last of this kind of conversation?
I'm just glad that clarity has been made for a lot of individuals who are saying that this is a rape festival. These individuals are assaulting women. It's a festivity of rape. And I'm just glad that the air has been cleared, because truly, for as much as we say all of these things, it's not giving us a very good light. Individuals who are overseas who actually watch and say nothing good can come out of Nigeria, out of Nigeria. And look at it now; they're having a rape festival where they drag women to the streets. Those who come out and they are being assaulted, abused, and raped. It doesn't speak well of us as now. We have a lot going on, so we don't need more bad energy. But I'm just glad that the air has been cleared when it comes to this. Is a fertility tradition where individuals who have been waiting for a long period of time, where there is a prayer that is ongoing when it comes to this particular issue for these couples to have children. It's not these miscreants decided to topsy-turvy this whole situation up and down. And at the same time, I am glad that the law is going to take its course. And like he mentioned, about 16 of them have been arrested. And of course, they are not students. These are miscreants, elements in the society who are jobless, who do not have regard for women, who do not understand what it is. You know, like he said, he spoke very well, the PRO, and he said these individuals did not have it at the back of their mind that they have sisters, they have mothers, they have relatives who are female, and you go around abusing and assaulting women in that particular order. It's really, really sad, and it shows that the police force are up on their game when it comes to bringing these individuals to the book, and hopefully those who are involved will actually come out, because he said something again. It's another thing to put these individuals behind bars. It's another thing for these individuals who are part and parcel of this particular abuse to come out and say yes, they were raped, they were assaulted by these individuals. If they do not come out to speak up, the case will be striked out, and that's the truth. There is nothing you and I can do.
And then you blame the police.
And then you blame the police. No, you cannot blame the police, because it takes you and I to actually fight this cause to the letter and to the book, so that justice can be served.
I certainly agree, so that justice can be served. But then, there's so much for us to talk about here today. Like we mentioned, we'll be turning attention to look at what exactly is happening regarding Iran. We're looking forward to a situation where Jumai will stop buying fuel at 1,370
It's
naira.
not 1,004.
Right. So we're trying to see how we can ease that for not just Jumai, but Nigerians generally. Just to imagine that Dangote is saying that, we talked about that yesterday, right?
Yes, we did.
That look, if nothing happens to disrupt this process and begin to do a reversal of this situation, we may as well find ourselves real time, practically, in a situation where most people have to opt for working from home.
Yes.
Because it's not about what is ideal at that point. It's about what is available, what is realistic, what is possible. Because at the end of the day, the world is a global village now for a reason.
Yes,
all right,
it is.
we are all interconnected. So whatever happens in Japan, well, it can have a, if you like, reverberating effects in West Africa.
Yes, true that.
There are people across the world who say that it's a good thing, whether it's true or not, that President Trump is talking about having to dialogue. I mean, if you like, adopting dialogue as a way out of this imbroglio. Yes, even though Iran says, well, there's no such thing.
No, we're not going back down.
But then Israel is not on the same page with President Trump on that, because as far as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is concerned, we've got to see the end of this, whether you want us to fight it from the Iranian end or from the Lebanese end, we've got to end all of this. And this whole conversation is even becoming more compounded by the day, because there's some story now that Saudi Arabia wants the U.S. to, as it were, shut down Iran. Because, again, beyond the U.S., beyond the Israel elements, the fact of the matter is there's already that supremacy tussle in the Middle East.
Of course.
As to who is the leader in this region. It's like the way you can have that in Africa or even in West Africa. Of course, we know that Nigeria is undisputedly the leader. But we're saying that to say that even for those who know that you are the leader in this region, they still try to tussle it out, so to speak, sometimes. All right, so you have that in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, for many people, leads the Middle East, but Iran is not buying that. All right, and as such, it becomes some sort of clash of titans, right? And it can be quite concerning.
Yes, it is. It is quite concerning. It is because, like we said, it doesn't just affect that particular region. It affects each and every one of us, whether you're close knit to them or not. In one way or the other, you will feel the brunt of this particular war that is ongoing. But hopefully, the needful is done, and we have, like I mentioned before, we have to go back to our drawing board. The dependence for us, and that is why we are feeling the brunt of this particular war in the Middle East. I think leaders, Nigerians, we need to go back to the drawing board and always have a plan B. A plan B is very important. I don't think we would have been necked into this. It wouldn't have affected us so much if we had a plan B, that in case this happens, because no one was thinking towards that direction. No one even saw this coming. So it's just unfortunate that we did not have a plan B. But I think now it's an awakening for every country around the world now to have a plan B, because really it's the individuals in your particular nation that will feel the brunt of this heat, and then of course those that are fighting, by the way, which it has an impact on each and every one of us.
It does. Incidentally, we'll be joined by someone who has followed these developments for a while, virtually from the United States. It's quite early over there, but he'll help us understand some of these elements playing out right now. We do hope, as President Trump has said, whether or not there is our understanding already at this point in time between the US and Iran, that there is actually efforts at ensuring that dialogue is at the option at this point in time, because whether you like it or not, war, they say, is not a beautiful thing to look at. And as it stands right now, at least for the benefit of our viewers, this is not a war on the US side that Congress has actually approved. It's the veto power of the US president that is being leveraged here, and the US laws provide that President Trump can use that for 60 days, and he has eaten into that window pretty much already. But again, you don't want this to be a full-scale war, apparently. It's a proxy war. People say the US is fighting at this point on the side of the Israelis, but the US will have to do some sort of tough job of, if you like, calling Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to order to ensure that both America and, of course, Israel are on the same page. And then on the other side, that Iran finds a reason to say, hopefully we can go back to talking as we had been doing before these strikes actually happened the other time. Let's hope we're able to make that happen as quickly as possible, while we also see how we can manage on our end in Nigeria the fact that we're seeing a drop very sizable in the price of oil in the international market. By close of business yesterday, we understand it was selling for about $920 for something that had risen above $8,000 the other time. Now, this is, we should say $100. Now, this is important for Nigeria because we rely largely, not solely, on monies realized from the sales of crude. So whatever happens to the price of crude in the international markets, it has a bounce off on our economy and everything else here in Nigeria. We understand we are being joined now by Robinson Roberts Wenye. Is a lawyer and, American affairs analyst. He joins us from Pulva in Washington this morning. Thank you so very much, Robinson, for taking our time. It's quite early on your end, so we do not take this sacrifice for granted.
Good morning. Thank you. Glad to be here.
When you look at what is going on today, especially from the U.S. end, there are people who say this is nothing but a proxy war that the U.S. is fighting on the side and in the interest of Israel. How much of sense does it make to that extent, given that there are analysts across the world who say that at no point did the Iranians pose a threat to the world in terms of nuclear armament?
I think there are actually diverse opinions on that here. Just like you said correctly, some people argue that it's a proxy war in support of Israel. But if we look at the what the current president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, has said over the years, even before he became president of the United States, he has been saying it that Iran shouldn't have nuclear weapons. That has always been his argument. that they should not have nuclear weapons, and that is also the argument for this war as well. There were indications that they were very close, just probably weeks or thereabouts, to developing some nuclear weapons. So definitely you have to do something about it to stop them. Of course, there were negotiations on the way to try to stop those programs, but from indications that there was going to be an attack on American infrastructure and Israel in the next few weeks, if nothing was done about it. The US government had to take action. And of course, there's that argument as well that even if they didn't take action, Israel would have taken action, because Israel too, they believe they face existential threats from Iran. You know, over the years, Iran always argue, people in Iran always say death to America, death to America, death to Israel, and all that. Those rhetoric are dangerous, and is something that the current United States president couldn't take for granted. Hence, they launched that attack to quell the regime and to level all the nuclear capabilities of Iran.
Colleague Jumai Johnson now. I just want to ask this quite frankly. The US and Iran, they've exchanged some level of firepower, if you like. But that exchange has been, well, significantly more between Iran and Israel. However, analysts who have followed very keenly say that Iran is in no place to come out of this war successfully. Therefore, they recommended that the wise thing to do at this point in time is to ensure that Iran reaches out with an olive branch. However, that has not been the case. Iran says we're not backing down, we're not interested in talks. As a matter of fact, what Donald Trump has claimed to be some talks going on is nothing but fake news. What are your thoughts?
Yes, some can argue that Iran, they have no path to victory in this war, because you can't really do anything to the United States of America. They are miles, millions of thousands of miles away. So it's very difficult for them to attack the United States of America. But in reality, I think they didn't have plans to attack the United States of America heads on, like the country, the USA. But America has assets all around the Middle East. They have bases in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Israel as well. So there was this contingency plan. So many argue right now that there was this contingency plan by Iran. Their plan was not to attack the United States of America. The plan of ground was, if anything was to happen to the late Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, or if there was an attack on Iran, Iran should go full force against Israel and against American assets in the region and block the Strait of Hormuz, which they have been doing. That's exactly what they have been doing. They are trying to strangulate the economy of the world, and the pressure is there. They don't need to throw bombs in the United States of America for the United States of America to feel the heat, for the president of the United States of America to feel the heat. They've been doing what they planned to do, which is cripple the economy of the world. We all know the cost of oil prices now, because of this war, have soared because of the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran did. They bombed almost any shipments going through there that is unauthorized by them, and that has in reality affected the economy of the world a lot. Even in countries like Nigeria and some other African countries that are taking no part in this war at all, they are suffering from the cost of oil prices. It's affecting everywhere. And in the United States of America itself, there are so many people that are angry, they are not happy because gas prices have gone up. So it's actually a consensus among most people that the war in Iran right now, even if there are no bombs being thrown in America, is affecting everybody. So that's why even the United States of America wants to end this war as soon as possible. I think just yesterday evening or thereabouts, the president already said they are making some headways in the negotiation. even if Iran is trying to be very difficult, they are pushing some very serious steps if that negotiation is going to happen. Of course, some claim that they don't even want to have any negotiation because they are pained. They are very pained. Their late ruler, their late supreme ruler, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed, along with members of his immediate family, and they've had lots of losses in this war as well. So they are not very happy. They are pushing very stringent terms for there to be negotiations. I think the president of the US claimed that there was a ceasefire, but there's actually no ceasefire on the ground right now because Iran are not stopping. They are not pausing. They are still bombing Israel. Even as at late last evening, there were reports of missiles being thrown at Israel. So the war is still raging, but we are hoping, everyone is hoping. I think it's a consensus around the world that as much as possible, these conflicts should come to a halt as soon as possible. And hopefully some terms are being thrown to the Iranians, and let's hope they take it and we have a negotiation and a ceasefire as soon as possible.
Robert, I wanted to just ask, what do you think third-party countries are playing in this mediation process, like Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan? What's their role, basically, when it comes to mediation?
There are lots of underground negotiations going on, right? It's not really surface yet because even the Iranians, there's a limit to people they're even willing to listen to, because anyone they view as a kind of partner to the West, or people that are in one way or not in support of the conflict, the attack by the Israel and the United States of America, they don't want to listen to them at all. They're not interested in listening to them. But of course, the leaders in those countries you mentioned, those are countries that the Iranians actually have respect for: Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, and I think to some level the leader of India as well. So those are people that they actually have respect for, and so they're willing to listen to them. And on the surface, on the ground, there are actually negotiations currently going on, and we are hoping that those negotiations will be fruitful, and hopefully very soon we will have some headway. The people that usually head negotiations on the part of the United States of America are persons that the Iranians don't want to listen to at all. They don't even want them on the negotiation table. That's the director of CIA, Steve Witkoff, and Trump's in-law, Jared Kushner. The Iranians don't want to listen to them at all because they view them as people that are always pro-Israel and pushing the cause of Israel. There are indications today in the media and around that they are willing to listen to the current Vice President of the United States of America, that's J.D. Vance, if he can represent America in the negotiation table. And of course, countries like China too also has a big role to play, because China didn't take either sides. And China is a big superpower, is a big world power as well, that the US would listen to some extent, and Iranians would definitely listen to too. So hopefully we'll get some results soon.
Would ask and say, how is this conflict affecting oil prices and, of course, global stability when it comes to this issue?
Obviously. Sorry, I didn't get your last point. I didn't get the last thing you were trying to say.
Okay, someone would ask, how is this conflict affecting global oil prices and, of course, the economic stability?
I think it's very clear. It's very, very clear, even for a blind man or even for a little child right now, the effects this crisis has been having on the economy, like worldwide. We get reports from countries like in Africa that oil prices have gone up like almost to an all-time high. So it's definitely almost everything moves on gas prices, right? The trader has to take their goods to the markets, and it has to be transported within the country. If it's not, if it's not by shipment, if it's within a country, definitely they have to use road transportation to take their goods to wherever they want to take it to. So everybody needs gas in their vehicles. Everybody needs oil. So when the prices, because of the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and you know Iran is actually a major oil producer in the world, even if very recently the United States of America lifted the ban on Iranian oil, because prior to this time, Iranian oil were banned from being sold to countries in the West, because they didn't want America didn't want Iran to have any means to get money and continue the nuclear program that they were working on. But because of the surge in gas prices, especially in the United States of America, the president was under pressure, and then he lifted up that blockade. So hopefully things will get back to normal soon. But for now, it doesn't seem good at all. The prices of gas have surged all over the world. So let's hope that in a not distant future, there will be some settlement and things will flow back to normal to some extent.
Sounds right. Now you have countries like Nigeria who are not aligned. They do not take sides, for example. So they have this foreign policy sort of, kind of non-alignments, all right? We do not take sides. What are the implications? Because they say when it's all said and done in international politics, there's no such thing as sitting on the fence. You've got to take sides for, your own enlightened self-interest, as they say in diplomacy. As it stands right now, what would you say such countries in the global south, as they are called, should be doing? Taking sides or continue to call for dialogue on both sides?
I think it's definitely to continue to call for dialogue. There's no reason why we should take a side, why Nigeria, countries like Nigeria should take a side in these conflicts, because nobody consulted Nigeria when they were going to attack Iran, right? And it's not our business what is actually happening in Iran, because everybody should look out for themselves as much as possible. The only thing we can do, or the only thing we should be doing, is to be calling for dialogue, because it's definitely affecting everybody. But there's no reason why Nigeria as a country, or most of the African countries, should take side in this war. We are not the ones being affected right now. You should always look out for yourself. Just like the United States always say, America first, it should be Nigeria first as well. Every country should look out for their self-interest. The only reason why we should actually be pushing as much as possible and calling for dialogues is because the conflict is affecting everyone. Even Nigeria, that is not a part of it in whatsoever way, is being affected. And it is not a full-blown world war right now. And we didn't sign any bilateral agreement with either Iran or the United States of America that if they're in conflict, would be a part of it. So there's no reason why we should join any side. Even the NATO countries that are in an agreement with the United States of America, when President Trump was calling on them to send military forces or to the Strait of Hormuz to help remove that blockade there, most of them refused. Countries like Spain is a NATO country, but they completely refused. They even refused their bases to be used, their military bases, American military bases in Spain, to be used to attack Iran. So there's no reason why a country like Nigeria should involve themselves when even NATO-aligned countries, most of them have refused to be a part of the conflict. Even countries like France, that is NATO, that looks as if they are kind of in support of the United States of America, they are still calling for dialogue. So I think what Nigeria should be doing as well, what most African countries should be doing, is calling for dialogue and not necessarily to take sides in this conflict at all.
There are theories that this is even more complex than we realize, especially from the Middle East standpoint. For instance, you realize that a country like Saudi Arabia, that happens to be a very strategic ally of the U.S., is not taking sides with Iran. Apparently, as a matter of fact, there's a report this morning, at least in Nigeria, that Saudi Arabia is urging the U.S. under the leadership of President Trump to see how it can completely destroy Iran. Does that not make a vast situation worse?
Those are rumors, right? So we don't know for certain if Saudi Arabia is actually calling for the obliteration of Iran. So I don't think it would be completely right to make comments on what we are not certain of. So yeah, there are those reports, but to a large extent we believe they are rumors because the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia or any Saudi Arabian government official has not come out openly to take sides in this war whatsoever. They only condemned the attack on the military bases by Iran, but nobody there, they've not come out to say that they're in support of the conflict. They are also calling for dialogue as well, at least to the face of everyone. They are calling for dialogue, they are calling for an end to the crisis. They're not taking sides, so I don't think we should dabble into rumors and say anybody is calling for it's only Israel. As much as we all know right now, this war is between Israel, United States of America, and Iran. No one else have said they are taking anybody's side. So I don't think it would be right to tie Saudi Arabia to the conflict when there's been no official statement to that effect.
Asks, how might continued escalation affect security in the Middle East region?
Obviously, it's not just in the Middle East region. It's actually going to have effects almost everywhere in the world, especially in Asia. You have the Chinese issues with Taiwan. They've been looking at this for a long time now. Of course, there's also the crisis in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. That's ongoing as well. So if this continues, definitely America, the United States of America, is spending a whole lot prosecuting this war. They're spending millions and millions of dollars. I think they're even pushing for another $200 million to be approved by Congress to fund this crisis. So of course, it's taking a toll on them. They're using a whole lot of their military prowess, their powers. So if you're fighting a war, you are getting weak. That's the reality. Usually America doesn't start war. America ends war, because most times if you're starting a war, it's going to be depleting your resources. One reason why Russia has not been roaring on the side of Iran, even if they are strategic partners with Iran, is because they are fighting a war with Ukraine, and they've been doing so for the past 3 or more years now. So definitely they've lost a lot. They've lost manpower, they've lost resources prosecuting that war, so they can't involve themselves in any other war. So if America continues, if this war continues with Iran, in maybe a couple of months or years, a year time or thereabout, definitely it's going to deplete their resources, it's going to deplete their manpower. And if China wakes up tomorrow that they want to take over Taiwan, it's going to be difficult for America to defend Taiwan because they are fighting a war on one end. So definitely it's going to affect, and we all know that Iran is not just attacking Israel in this war. They're attacking almost every country in the Middle East region. Every country where America has their military bases have been affected. Cases of United Arab Emirates and Qatar are case in point. When I was traveling from Nigeria, ordinarily I was supposed to take Qatari Airways and have a brief stopover at Qatar. But the airport in Doha is shut down because of this crisis. And the same thing with United Arab Emirates as well. Those places were places where tourists go every now and then. There were also centers just like Geneva in Switzerland where people go for negotiations. But you can't do that right now because the conflict is also affecting them. Iran is throwing bombs at UAE and at Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and all those countries. So people are even scared to go there. The other day, my wife was talking about vacationing in Doha. I told her no chance. I can't go to Doha because I don't know what is happening there. I don't know what will happen there in the next minute because they are somehow a part of this conflict. Doha has one of the biggest American bases in the whole of the Middle East region. So Iran is attacking them. their economy is being grounded right now too, because there's no tourism in Doha right now. Nobody flies into Doha. Nobody flies into UAE anymore. Even people that were there on transit are stuck in the airports for how long now? Especially people, Nigerians, that Nigerian government have not been able to go and help to bring out their citizens. Some other countries, of course, negotiate their way and somehow they send planes to take their people out of UAE and out of Qatar. But Nigeria is a whole different thing. So many people are stranded, even if some Nigerians don't even want to leave regardless of the war. So those are the issues. Those are some of the issues.
All right, with ceasefire talks here and there, mediation countries coming together, what do you think are the possible outcomes if this ceasefire talks fails completely eventually?
I don't know what to say to that, and I don't hope for that at all, because it's going to be ugly, and the worst is that it may cascade into into a regional crisis and may even cascade into other, like a world crisis, and we seriously hope it doesn't extend to that. We even pray that this war should not extend to months. Like, as much as possible within the next 1 or 2 months, it should come to an end, because if it continues this way, it's not going to be good at all. Iran has plans not to attack the United States of America itself, but they will attack most of the US allies, and other countries will come into play if this crisis continues. So we pray, we seriously pray and hope it doesn't happen. We pray and hope the negotiations are fruitful and this crisis comes to a closure as soon as possible. I don't even want to imagine what may happen if the ceasefire fails. Of course, if there's a first negotiation for ceasefire and it fails, definitely they are still going to go back to the negotiation table and continue the negotiations, maybe a first time, a second time, and a third time. And we definitely hope there should be results as soon as possible.
Well, this one would like to say a big thank you to you, Robert Robinson Weye, lawyer and U.S. Affairs commentator, for having to crack up your sleep a little this morning to join us on the program here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, great. So incidentally, that's all we have for you on Global Morning today. Just to say a big thank you to our viewers for taking our time to watch as well, and to remind you that the views of all of our guests here are their opinions. I'm Uyi Agumofwebe.
And I am Jumai Manson. Have an amazing day ahead. From Uyi and I, we say bye-bye.